and
Nice car. What's the retail on one of those?
More than you can afford, pal.
and
$35 million is the bid. Sold!
The world of high-ticket auction sales involving classic and exotic cars is a fascinating topic. So when record prices are not only set, but they far exceed both precedent and current market analysis, some wonder, is this money laundering?
There's something going on around here that just don't add up.
Though not as common as service industry staples such as salons, nightclubs, and restaurants, the automotive sector remains an attractive market through which to launder money. That part is true. For example, smaller ticket online auctions where the auction site is an unwitting participant.
I have done nothing wrong, ever, in my life.
Because, as an easy example, someone may have used dirty money to buy a car in cash in the real world, and then they flip that same car online to have what appears to be a legitimate source of the money. I kid you not, eBay has an entire anti-money laundering department dedicated to locating just this type of thing. Instead, money laundering within the automotive space is far more ubiquitously seen in car washes, auto parts sales, transport, repair garages, and custom shops. That's why you so often see these portrayed as money laundering vehicles, no pun intended, in entertainment such as Breaking Bad.
What do successful car wash owners do? They buy more car washes. We'll be laundering that money for years.
And even the Fast and the Furious touched on it 25 years ago. Remember this scene?
I know there's no way you paid for all that shit that's under the hood of those cars by doing tune-ups and selling groceries.
Yeah, Brian, the undercover cop, said that because Dom was using that garage and corner market of theirs to launder the money that was largely derived from his crew's highway pirating efforts. But here's the thing, laundering illicit funds through the high-end automotive auction space also does happen, but it tends to be more sophisticatedly executed and a bit harder to trace than the guy who opens a hole-in-the-wall muffler shop with 2 employees and no inventory but somehow generated $8 million in cash last year.
That's suspicious.
The use of a collector car auction far more closely aligns with laundering seen in high-ticket art and real estate. Be it a large dollar sale and purchase of a penthouse, impressionist work, or exotic car, this will often involve a shell company or potentially a trust. Where a beneficial owner is named, that can often be a straw purchaser, someone whose name is just on the paperwork but has nothing to do with the actual transaction. Then there's the use of a person who does not even exist in the case of synthetic identity fraud, which is getting easier to detect but nonetheless remains a problem if a proper customer identification program is not in effect. Then there are back channel, aka off-market or private listings. Those involve the sale of a high-end vehicle, typically via a professional broker or experts in a specific space who facilitate the transaction without ever making it known to the general public that the asset was up for sale in the first place. It is colloquially known as a pocket listing inside of real estate, but again, is common in art, antiquities, and collector cars. And yes, these private listings are sometimes used as a money laundering tool.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be
The person or group using high-end cars to launder money will typically fall into one of 2 categories. 1, someone in the integration phase of a very basic money laundering scheme where a vehicle is purchased using dirty money. Quite simple, and this is what most people are familiar with, but there is a far more complex scheme, esoterically known as trade-based money laundering, or TBML.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
A very quick example of a trade-based scheme involving exotic cars would be as follows. Person A in America uses dirty money held in a shell company account to buy an Aston Martin Vantage at, say, $150,000.
Now you have my attention.
Thing is, person A is doing it in order to ship that Aston to person B in Bolivia, to whom he owes 100 grand for product previously received on consignment. Person A sold that Aston to person B for just $50,000, a grossly deflated sale price. Well, in this example, the difference between the low sale price and actual value represents payment for a legal product. No cash, no crypto.
Aston Martin
V8 Vantage.
But what about inflated automotive pricing?
Explain yourself.
So a quick example of that would be, let's say years later, that same Aston has depreciated a bit and now has an actual value of $125,000. The owner, person B in Bolivia, is owed $500,000 for product, and this time he wants his money more liquid. But still, he does not want it in cash. Too many headaches. So person C in Colombia, who owes the $500,000 in this example, agrees to buy the Aston Martin for $625,000, a grossly inflated price, but again, a price that allows person B in Bolivia to receive his $500,000, but under the guise of a vehicle sale.
Oh, rainbow.
And no, this example did not take into account wholesale prices, retail prices, international market differential, currency fluctuation.
I'm gonna need you to get all the way off my back about this. Okay, let me get off of that thing.
On its own, though, the gross deflation or inflation of automotive pricing looks suspicious to anyone who knows or researches the market, the transactions alone do not constitute criminality and can go under the radar if, for instance, a new financial crime analyst has no idea what they're looking at. However, when other hard evidence is brought forward in a criminal trial, those questionable prices fast become another nail that a prosecution team hammers right into place. Now, can a high-end respected auction be used as part of traditional or trade-based money laundering?
Wait, you think I didn't think of that? Of course I thought of that.
But it's not usually a preferred method, especially if cash is involved. You see, in the United States, auction houses alongside nearly all other businesses that deal in cash, including car dealerships, are legally required to file an IRS Form 8300. If anyone hands over more than $10,000 in cash in a single transaction, or even related transactions, similar to currency transaction reports inside of U.S. financial institutions.
Oh, that darn paperwork. Wouldn't it be easier if it all just blew away?
But Form 8300 is only one part of why high-end car auctions are not the first choice for most launderers, even those not utilizing cash. And it is certainly not the go-to option for inflating car prices as a component of a trade-based scheme. Using an auction to launder money, assuming you don't have an inside at the auction, will typically involve the seller and winning bidder working in conjunction, shill bidding to inflate that price on the floor, paperwork, government regulations, and the auction house's willingness to provide at least some measure of cover for the whole thing when people start asking what in the world just happened with that price.
You want to talk about stress? You want to talk about stress? There is no Pepe Sylvia.
To wrap up this video, what people are usually seeing inside of high-end car auctions, sometimes those prices are just a result of two or more people wanting the same thing at the exact same time and the exact same auction. And just like that, a new record. Especially when it comes to a perceived store of value and where individuals who have taken profit from one market sector are looking to reallocate a portion of those gains into a rare hard asset that history shows can appreciate in certain market conditions, especially within a K-shaped economy. Never forget, rich people do rich people things. Just ask any private banker in Palm Beach. And reason 2, briefly mentioned it earlier, it might be shill bidding. That is a bidding scheme used to falsely inflate an asset's value at auction. For the record, that constitutes straight up fraud, and it can and has resulted in felony convictions. And there you have it, a very broad overview of money laundering as it pertains to high-end automotives.
I have a question. Well, actually not just one. I have all of them. I have all the questions.
Questions, disagreements, constructive criticism, always welcome in the comments. God bless you all. Jesus loves you. fintelWatch, over and out.
And
At 46,500,000 euros. Sold here in Stuttgart by RM Sotheby's, going for the third and final time. The car is sold. Thank you very much.